Fashion is a form of oppression.
Good morning, everyone. When we think of fashion, many of us picture creativity, self-expression, and beauty. But what if I told you that beneath this glamorous surface, fashion often acts as a powerful yet subtle form of oppression? My friends, I'm here today to argue strongly that fashion is indeed a form of oppression. It dictates how we should look, what we should wear, and even how we should feel about our own bodies. Think about it. From the economic pressure to constantly buy new trends, to the rigid beauty standards that can severely impact our self-esteem, fashion imposes rules that limit our freedom and often punishes those who dare to deviate. It's not just about clothes, it's about control, conformity, and the invisible chains that dictate what is acceptable in society. Throughout history, fashion has been used to enforce social hierarchies, restrict women's movements, and even shame individuals for not fitting a certain mold. So let's look beyond the runway and consider the real impact of fashion on our lives and liberties.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to argue passionately and unequivocally against the motion. Fashion is a form of oppression. And quite frankly, I believe this motion fundamentally misunderstands what fashion truly represents. Fashion, at its core, is not an instrument of oppression. It is a powerful, diverse, and often liberating force for self-expression, creativity, and cultural identity. It's a visual language we use every day to communicate who we are, what we believe, and where we belong. While we can certainly acknowledge that there are problematic aspects within the fashion industry, like labor practices or unrealistic beauty standards, these are systemic issues that exist in many industries, not inherent qualities of fashion itself. To declare fashion as oppression dismisses its enormous capacity for empowerment, its role as a global economic driver, and its vital contribution to art and culture across centuries. Tonight, we will demonstrate that fashion is overwhelmingly a tool for freedom, not suppression.
My friends, the negative team, quite predictably, wants us to view fashion through rose-tinted glasses. They've spoken about creativity, self-expression, and even empowerment. And yes, on the surface, fashion can indeed appear to be all these things. But we must dig a little deeper, mustn't we? We need to look beyond the glossy magazine covers and the runway glamour, because that's where the insidious nature of fashion as a form of oppression truly reveals itself. When we talk about self-expression, we have to ask, how truly self is that expression when an entire multi-billion-dollar industry is relentlessly dictating what's in and what's out? How free is that choice when society implicitly, and often explicitly, penalizes those who don't conform to certain styles, body types, or brands? This isn't pure, unburdened freedom. It's a carefully curated system designed to pressure us into constant consumption and adherence to often unattainable ideals. This isn't choice, it's compulsion masked as personal preference. The negative might suggest fashion empowers us. But let's consider who is truly empowered. Is it the garment worker earning poverty wages, working in unsafe conditions to produce fast fashion? Is it the consumer struggling with body image issues because they don't fit the industry's narrow beauty standards? Or is it the mega corporations and designers at the top, profiting from this cycle of dissatisfaction and endless desire? The empowerment offered by fashion is often an illusion, a temporary fix that ultimately reinforces the very systems that disempower so many. So while the negative team points to the beautiful facade, we must not be distracted. We must remember that beauty can often be a powerful veil, hiding the systemic exploitation, the enforced conformity, and the economic burdens that fashion imposes on millions globally. Fashion isn't merely an art form, it is a meticulously crafted tool of control, making it undeniably a form of oppression.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and a good evening to everyone. The Affirmative team has presented a powerful opening statement, highlighting some very real challenges within the fashion industry. They speak of unrealistic beauty standards, the plight of garment workers, and the pressure to conform. And indeed, these are serious issues that we absolutely must address. However, we must ask ourselves, do these issues define fashion itself as a form of oppression? We on the negative team argue a resounding no. Let's tackle the idea of beauty standards first. Yes, fashion magazines and advertising can promote narrow ideals. But to say this is oppression is to fundamentally misunderstand the concept. Oppression is about systematic subjugation, the denial of rights, and the forced control over an individual's life. Fashion trends are influences, not mandates. No one is legally compelled to wear a certain size or style. In fact, fashion has become a powerful tool for resisting these very standards. Think of the body positivity movement, the rise of inclusive sizing, or the diverse representation we increasingly see on runways and in campaigns. These are all driven through fashion, not oppressed by it. Fashion gives us the canvas to paint our own definitions of beauty. And regarding the exploitation of garment workers, we absolutely agree this is a grave injustice. But let's be clear, this is an issue of unethical labor practices and corporate greed, not an inherent quality of fashion itself. The problem isn't the clothes, it's the broken supply chains and lack of regulation. Blaming fashion for worker exploitation is like blaming food for famine. The problem isn't the product, but the systemic failures in its production and distribution. Indeed, fashion has also been a powerful platform for activism, raising awareness about these very injustices and pushing for ethical sourcing and fair wages. Brands dedicated to ethical production exist and thrive precisely because fashion can be a force for good. Ultimately, the affirmative team conflates the undeniable problems within the fashion industry with fashion itself. Fashion, at its core, is a language. It is a form of self-expression, a way to signal identity, creativity, and belonging. It empowers individuals to present themselves to the world as they choose. To label this fundamental human expression as oppression is to diminish the very real struggles of those who face genuine, systematic oppression, and it entirely misses the liberating potential that fashion holds.
Now, my friends, the negative team wants us to believe that fashion is simply a matter of personal choice, a beautiful canvas for self-expression. And yes, on the surface it might feel that way, right? We choose what we wear each morning. But let's look deeper. Is it truly a free choice when the options presented to us are so narrowly defined by an industry driven by profit and power? Is it choice when we're constantly bombarded with images of the ideal, an ideal that changes every season, making last season's choice instantly obsolete?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate my esteemed opponents bringing up important points about the industry's darker side. No one here is denying that the fashion industry can, at times, be exploitative or promote unrealistic ideals. We've all seen the headlines about fast fashion's labor practices or the pressures of an airbrushed aesthetic. But here's the crucial distinction, and it's one my opponents continue to conflate. These are issues of unethical business practices and societal pressures, not the inherent nature of fashion itself. To equate fashion with oppression because of poor labor conditions is like saying that food is a form of oppression because some food industries exploit farm workers. That's absurd. The problem lies with the exploitation, not the fundamental human need or art form. Fashion, at its core, is about fabric, design, and personal expression. It's an art form. And just like any art form, it can be abused by commercial interests or misused by those seeking to control. But that doesn't make the art itself the oppressor. In fact, fashion often becomes a powerful tool against oppression. Think about how many social movements, from the suffragettes with their purposeful attire to the civil rights movement and its sartorial dignity, or even punk challenging the establishment through style, have used fashion as a banner of defiance, a way to reclaim identity, and a visual statement of resistance. Oppression seeks to strip individuals of their agency. Fashion, on the other hand, gives us a canvas to express our agency, to speak without words, and to assert who we are, or who we aspire to be. The problems my opponents highlight are calls for reform within the industry, not a condemnation of fashion as a concept.
Friends, fellow debaters, we've walked through the complex world of fashion together, and I believe we've clearly shown that behind the glittering facade, fashion, in many significant ways, operates as a profound form of oppression. We've seen how it places an immense economic burden on consumers, pushing us towards endless consumption, while exploiting the very people who make our clothes in unjust conditions. We've discussed how it imposes unrealistic beauty standards, dictating what is acceptable and fostering self-doubt, especially among young people. And let's not forget the environmental devastation caused by fast fashion, disproportionately affecting vulnerable communities. Fashion isn't just about what we wear, it's a powerful system that dictates, restricts, and often exploits. It limits our choices, shapes our perceptions, and reinforces societal hierarchies. By recognizing this, we take the first step towards a more conscious, equitable, and truly liberating approach to how we dress ourselves and understand our world. Thank you.
Friends, fellow debaters, let's be clear. We've heard arguments suggesting fashion is a tool of oppression, but the evidence simply doesn't support that. What we've consistently shown is that fashion, at its very core, is about choice, expression, and identity. It is a vibrant canvas where individuals paint who they are, celebrate their heritage, and even challenge societal norms. Think about it. From the economic opportunities it creates for millions worldwide, empowering individuals and communities, to its role in preserving rich cultural traditions, fashion is a powerful force for good. Yes, like any major industry, it faces challenges, issues of sustainability, ethical production, and the pressures of consumerism. But to conflate these challenges, or even the occasional negative experience some might have, with systemic oppression, is a grave mischaracterization. Oppression strips away freedom. Fashion, at its best, amplifies it. It allows us to communicate without words, to belong or to stand out. It empowers, it expresses, it creates. To brand such a dynamic, personal, and culturally rich phenomenon as oppression is to fundamentally misunderstand its true nature and its profound human value. Thank you.
And with that, we've reached the end of our debate today. What a fascinating discussion it has been, exploring the idea that fashion is a form of oppression. We've heard compelling arguments from both sides, looking at how fashion can restrict us, but also how it can empower us and express our identities. Thank you so much to everyone who participated, and a huge thank you to all of you, our wonderful audience, for listening and learning with us. We hope this debate has given you new perspectives and lots to think about next time you choose what to wear. Keep practicing your English and keep exploring these big ideas. Goodbye for now.